do tonight? He says, yeah, man, I know. I said, you can't leave it up to the judges. He says, I don't plan to.
Hagler with a good left and a right. Minner says, come on, fight. And Minner is leaving himself open with this tactic.
And I've gone, come on. And he come on. And that was my downfall.
Minner is hurt. Minner is ready to go. It's only the third round, and Hagler is all over him.
Minter's helpless on his feet, and Marvin hits him with hooks, uppercuts, jabs, knocks him so senseless.
Fight stop. It's over that quickly. The middleweight champion of the world is Marvin Hagler.
It was too quick. It was too bloody, and a riot ensued. The fans there just couldn't handle it.
Now bottles are being thrown into the ring, and beer cans, and the corner people are trying to protect Marvin Hagler.
Here we are. We finally won the world title, and we had to run like burglars, like we did something wrong.
It was another example of what drove him to become the man he was. They denied him, even then, the right to stand in the middle of the ring with his hand up and the belt around his waist.
Robbed of his moment, Hagler guarded his title jealously, knocking out the next 5 challengers. But, for all his skill, he hadn't had the kind of payday he had been seeking since he turned pro. Only one fighter could raise Hagler's stature and deliver the mega purse.
He used to talk to Ray about it all the time. And Ray used to just kind of lead him on, almost just like a fish on a hook. He would just kind of lead him on.
The people want to see it, Leonard. We don't want you to retire yet until you come with the marvelous one.
Okay,
it's got to be the big one, right?
That is the biggest one.
Prospects for the biggest one dimmed in 1982 when Leonard was diagnosed with a detached retina. 6 months after undergoing eye surgery, Leonard alerted the media to a major announcement in Baltimore. Hagler was advised to be on hand.
We figured that he was going to make the official announcement that he's going to take that fight with Marvin Hagler. So we were all tickled pink.
A fight with this great man, this great champion, could be one of the greatest fights in the history of boxing. Talking about money, you talk about Fort Knox. And this is the only man who can make that possible. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. But unfortunately, it'll never happen. Thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Marvin was crestfallen. Not only his chance for redemption against Sugar Ray and to put him in his place and assume his place was gone. Millions of dollars were also gone.
Here he is, a prop in this one-man play where Ray Leonard humiliates and embarrasses him, and then he walks away from boxing and leaves Hagler standing there, stripped to the core, with nowhere to go.
Was I cold to have him there, knowing fully well that I was going to say no? Yeah, it was pretty cold. But was it smart to have him there? Yes, it was smart to have him there. I just want to continue to create that drama, that intrigue. I did that.
It was the first time I saw a fighter, when he urinated in the cup, that it was blood.
I was really a Marvin Hagler believer. He was the most dedicated fighter I've ever been around in my life. I mean, when he went to training camp, he used to call it going to prison, and he meant it. I mean, he isolated himself, usually out in Provincetown, way at the tip of Cape Cod.
Whether it rained, whether it snowed, whether the sun was shining, we're up with the crack of dawn, and we out there would hit that road.
Couldn't think about it. Gotta do it. Who's the champ? I'm the champ.
No family, no friends, nothing. As the fight would approach, he would purposely get mean. We'd have 4 or 5 sparring partners sitting at ringside with headgear on, ready to go. 2 rounds, 3 rounds, man would say, get him out of here, give me somebody else in here, right? A fresh body. That was him. He was vicious and mean.
By the mid-1980s, Marvelous Marvin Hagler had taken on all comers. After 11 title defenses over 5 years, he stood alone, wealthy, respected, and satisfied.
Long-time champions are rare. Hagler was one of those champions who wanted to stay on top of the mountain.
The only thing that counts, man, is that I'm taking these back home. That's all that counts, man. That's all that means anything to me.
I think there was a feeling of being somebody, because that championship belt meant the world to him. That was his identity. That was Marvin Hagler.
With Sugar Ray Leonard still in retirement, Hagler focused on breaking Carlos Monzon's middleweight record of 14 title defenses. In 1986, he looked for number 12 against John the Beast Mugabe, who had won all 26 of his fights by knockout.
Mugabe is a slugger, total slugger. And I noticed that Mugabe was outboxing Marvin for a while.
When Leonard sat there that night, the Marvin Hagler he saw wasn't marvelous anymore. A little bit lack of reaction time, a little bit off on his speed.
Some of the body shots that he sustained from Mugabe were unbelievable. While Marvin won that fight, I think it took more out of him than any other fight in his career, and I'm not sure physically he was ever the same afterwards.
It was the first time I saw a fighter, when he urinated in the cup, that it was blood.
Mugabe was a rough customer, and Marvin finally beat him. And then he said to me, he said to Pat, "That's it. I'm not fighting anymore."
Though he didn't announce his retirement, Hagler settled into a comfortable life with his wife Bertha and 5 children. Financially secure, he emerged a man in full from those scary, bullet-riddled nights in Newark. He didn't even harbor ill will toward the man who had ridden in limos while he fought to survive back in the day.
Marvin and I were pretty good associates, friends in a sense. He gave me the courtesy of coming to my restaurant that I co-owned with Mike Trainer. And that evening we sat around, had a couple glasses of champagne, and every question that I asked him, it was always responsive being somewhat negative, like I'm not motivated, I cut too easy, it's just not in my heart anymore. You know, he's telling me all these things. I'm saying to myself, this would be the perfect time to fight him.
It was all a con by Leonard. He was never Marvin Hagler's friend, but Marvin Hagler mistakenly thought that he was. He got sort of lured in by the same things, ironically, that he hated. You know, the smile, the slap on the back, the phony, hey, how you doing? You know, he bought into it too.
On May 1st, 1986, just 7 weeks after the Mugabe fight, Leonard announced he would come out of retirement to fight Hagler for the middleweight crown. Yet the champ, after years of denial, was slow to accept.
He didn't want to do that fight, not because he was afraid of Ray, but because it was enough. He didn't want to fight anymore. He couldn't concentrate on the fights the way he had in the past.
It was an agonizing period because Bertha was opposed to the fight. They were having some marital problems at the time, and it wasn't any secret. I always felt that Bertha, more than most of us, knew that Marvin had slipped.
Pat Petronelli, his manager, and myself drove through the night to where Hagler was living in New Hampshire. Pat sat down with Marvin to convince him to take the fight.
The hype machine churned for 6 months, enriching a tale of 2 starkly contrasting characters. Opposites in temperament, outlook, and style, Hagler and Leonard, it was said, were born to define one another in the ring.
Sugar Ray Leonard was a guy that you pulled for. He was America's boxer. I mean, he was the lovable guy. Where Hagler was a guy that, it was kind of hard to love. But you respected him.
I've been saving my body, my mind, just for this occasion. Now I have the opportunity to finally show the world that I am the best fighter in the world.
Before we put on our fight face, I'll take this time to thank marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Thanks, man.
Apparently he has his fight face on.
Perhaps weary of his opponent's easy praise, Hagler quit the publicity tour and began training 11 weeks before the fight. While Leonard worked out before crowds, Hagler kept off the radar, taking only urgent calls from his family. As fight night approached, the champ entered that dark place where his motivation lived.